The General Motors facility in Oshawa, Ontario, is the latest Canadian auto plant to feel the effect of U.S. tariffs.
The government is going to create jobs through big national projects to help cities get through this trade war.
I just don't understand why Amazon feels the need to do this when companies hike up prices on goods every single frickin' day.
Rome just pulled the pin on a grenade that's rolling straight toward Brussels, and Washington is cheering it on. 2 days before the NATO summit in D.C., Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni told a closed-door forum, if the U.S. slaps a flat 10% tariff on everything, Italian industry can live with it. Those 17 words sounded like harmless pragmatism in Rome. Inside NATO headquarters, they landed like a thunderclap, cracking open months of painstaking EU unity talks. While Meloni was still shaking hands on the summit red carpet, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen convened an emergency huddle in Brussels. Her message? Any unilateral levy, even a harmless 10%, will be treated as economic coercion, and Europe must answer with one voice. Suddenly, the lines were drawn. Rome's go-along realpolitik versus Brussels' fortress mentality, with Berlin and Paris caught in the middle. Donald Trump, hearing the commotion from a rally stage in New Jersey, poured gasoline on the fire. Kill the digital services tax, or I'll shut the talks down, just like with Canada. He branded Ottawa's 3% revenue tax on big tech, the death certificate of American innovation, and froze negotiations. White House aides now call Meloni's "We Can Live with 10" a gift-wrapped divide and rule card. Why would Italy risk the wrath of its biggest trading partners? 2 reasons. First, survival math. Italian exports to the U.S., farm-to-fork delicacies and high-margin machine tools still show respectable profits after a 10% haircut. Second, geopolitics. Rome wants front-row seats in a possible second-term Trump world, pitching itself as the Pentagon's Mediterranean logistics hub and the landing pad for U.S. semiconductor investment. Brussels views that calculus as short-sighted. Under the OECD's 2023 deal, Europe promised a single framework for taxing digital giants. Letting national levies bloom now hands Washington its favorite legal weapon: discrimination. Von der Leyen's dossier draws 3 red lines. No tariff concessions without unanimous EU approval, suspend solo digital taxes in favor of an EU-wide scheme, and demand an automatic rebalancing clause for metals, chips, medicines, and farm goods, just in case Trump's 10% suddenly morphs into 50%. Berlin is sympathetic but wary. Economics Minister Robert Habeck argues the U.S. still needs Europe's supply chain security, but only an EU chorus, not a solo Italian aria, can strike that bargain. Paris, meanwhile, sees a steel and autos rabbit hole ahead. Macron warns that if Europe caves now, every French jetliner, perfume bottle, and Bordeaux vintage will face the next tariff hike alone. The dispute bleeds into NATO cash, too. At the summit, Meloni promised to push Italy's defense spending above 2% of GDP without new debt. Music to Washington's ears. On the same stage, von der Leyen pitched green defense funding and semiconductor self-reliance, code for keeping Europe's war chest inside Europe. Both leaders agree on deterring Russia. They clash on who writes the checks. Canada offers a chilling preview. The day Ottawa enforced its digital tax, the loonie slid 4%, the Toronto Stock Exchange dropped 5%, and Google Shopify froze a 900-job R&D expansion. Brussels economists calculate that a copy-paste scenario in Europe could sink the euro to $1.2 and shave growth to 0.7% by year-end. Italy shrugs. A 7% price elasticity in its export mix cushions the blow. Germany's tight margin autos, 3 to 5%, and France's luxury staples, about 2%, can't say the same. Trump's strategists smell blood. If Italy cracks, they expect Spain and the Netherlands, both heavy agri-exporters, to follow. Each defection slices away Brussels' bargaining power until the so-called single market looks more like Swiss cheese. The collateral damage could spill into joint defense megaprojects like the Eurodrone or the Franco-German battle tank. Fragmented budgets invite U.S. contractors to swoop in, another win for America first. What's the endgame? Scenario A, the EU blinks, Rome sticks to its 10% line, cash-strapped Spain and Greece nod along, the North-South bond yield gap widens, the euro sinks, and Europe's Green Deal limps under pricier borrowing. Scenario B, Brussels holds. A united EU confronts Washington, risking immediate pain, retaliatory tariffs, big tech lobbying blitzes, market jitters, but keeps the single market firewall intact for the digital tax showdown just over the horizon. Because make no mistake, tariffs are only round one. Behind them looms the fight over data sovereignty, where servers live, where AI models are trained, who locks down your health records. If Europe fractures now, its digital privacy regime could unravel next. Meloni insists alarmism is worse than the tariff. Von der Leyen counters that the first exception opens a floodgate of exceptions, and the EU's leverage is gone for good. Which vision carries the day will shape Europe's growth charts for 2026 and decide whether the continent still claims strategic autonomy or becomes a collection of bargain hunters in a world run by bigger players. So, Global Pulse viewers, where do you land? Pragmatic 10% détente or ironclad single-voice resistance? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button, and hit subscribe with notifications on. Because the next volley in this tariff tug-of-war is already loading and you'll want to be here when it lands.